everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff Lives 2 TWO. And it's just great to have Andy here. Everybody, you already know Andy Dybala, so I don't need to introduce him. But just for the fun of it, let me just give you a little background. I've met Andy through the Neighborhood News Studio probably, I don't know, a year and a half or so ago. And he came to the charrette down here. Was it March 20th was the first one? Was that when
That
was your
was
first charrette?
that was the first charrette, but the first charrette I ever went to was the now infamous January 6th charrette on Mystery Island.
Oh wow. Yeah. And we all bonded over that weekend for sure. We got some great footage, by the way.
By
Matter of fact,
weekend, you by
that's where I got my my second strike. You know, my most recent second strike was apparently YouTube went back and looked through anything that was posted on January 6th and just said, boom, you know, that's promoting violence. You know,
Mhm.
nobody said anything about violence. You're just walking around with a camera taking pictures promoting violence. Well, you know, and I appealed it, and they just, well, you know, I mean, that's the thing. But I can't complain next to you. I mean, you have been so hit. I mean, God, Andy, you guys, thank you for hanging in there and for you know, encouraging George and everybody else that works with you guys at the Neighborhood News Studio. To keep persevering because we got to keep the message coming. We got to just keep on going. It's a big push right now. Anyway, and we've all been working hard, and I know you've been working very, very hard. And I do appreciate the opportunity to just get back in touch with you. So, golly gosh, Andy, you now got your own show, and you're doing some really top-notch research, which you know. Your general caveman scientist doesn't usually come up with. So I have to say I'm really deeply impressed with your work, and I'm really just proud of you. You're doing super. So thanks for joining me tonight, and tell me something good.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, John. Just to let the audience know, you actually invited me on your regular channel, McDuff Lives, during my stay at the at Mystery Island on January 6th, and that I guess you could consider my first appearance I ever made in front of the camera. So you and we were actually the ones. There's only a couple different organizations, YouTube organizations, that were at the January 6th event in general doing the reporting. You and I were at the home base. We were the ones in the broadcast studio, and we had the neighborhood news team, Osprey Nation, out on the grounds, on the Capitol grounds, and they were doing our reporting for us. And through the poor connection issues and all that, we managed to actually break the Ashley Babbitt shooting on your channel. And I believe we were we had to be the first channel on YouTube to break that information live because of George Webb and the team out there on the Capitol grounds. So I guess first and foremost, thank you for having me on and kind of taking a chance on me in that moment, because we just were getting introduced to each other and we didn't really know each other, and you knew I didn't have any experience, and you brought me on anyway. So I guess a year and some chump change later, here we are. I've started my own channel, and I started doing some of my own investigative journalism. I don't know if I have too much good news. I was going to do a show just playing devil's advocate in general, kind of just like, because I'm always doomsday on my show. Everything's bad. The elites are taking over, and I was going to do a devil's advocate show saying all this synthetic biology that they're creating is good for society, and I tried to put together a show, and it was actually more difficult to do than than I originally thought when I took on the task. So I don't know if I have much good news for the show here today, but it's just a kind of a general warning of what to expect in the future when it comes to some of the technology that DARPA and the military is working on.
A lot of those video clips are available at screamingospreys.com, by the way.
Mhm.
And I still have McDuff Lives up. It's got 7,100 subscribers, but I'm afraid to post there right now because I've still got 2 active strikes. So that's why, unfortunately, we're on the backup channel. But still, the backup channel is growing. I just noticed we've hit over 1,000, and that's good. But folks, if you can, spread the word that McDuff's going to be on the backup channel for a long time because of YouTube jail, YouTube jail.
It
But
is unfortunate. I have to make a backup channel myself, and I have yet to do it. And it's a tough task moving away from your baby that you're trying to develop, and you're like raising 2 kids at once, and it's difficult to say the least. I feel bad for all the single parents out there.
well, that's why it was so much better for the world in general when you were just being my producer. Because then I didn't have to do all that, and you did, and and I got to just do content, so now I've just since you the butterfly has burst out of the cocoon, and now you're out there doing your own show. But I think what's important is the content that you're providing, and you're right there doing cutting edge reporting, and I don't know how you find these medical articles that lead you to what you found, but I you've got the scent. You're on the trail, and it's exciting. I would just, if I may, just compare what you're doing to what our good friend Mark Kulak at Housatonic is doing. And so he was my guest last night, and one of the things that lingers with me is it resonates with me because it's my own study is leading me to the same feeling that there are basically 2 contending powerful groups in this country that are contending to control all of these weapons technologies and the money chain that goes with it, and the NATO and all of this stuff. Um, that's looking at the big picture,
Mhm.
whereas you're looking in the electron microscope. But at the same time, we're all examining the same, the big elephant in the room,
Mhm.
and each of us can identify a part of it. And there comes a time when we have to say, okay, look, we've got this. We've got the trunk, we've got three legs, we've got a tail, we've got floppy ears, we've got a nose, that goes out forever. I
Mhm.
mean, at some point, we organize this data, and this is where my mind has been going lately. Is the idea of taking what Bill Taylor does and putting it in a real tight package that is part of a bigger prosecution,
Mhm.
really, in legal terms, a prosecution's case in a legal case to say we are going to put together enough expert testimony based upon the studies that we've been doing together to show that XYZ, and I won't get into who it is right now,
Mhm.
but
Now
that
you're
they're
talking.
committing a serious crime.
Mhm.
But not try to go to the Justice Department and say, "Hey, Justice Department, look, you got to prosecute these guys," because we know that'll go sit in John Durham's circular file, right?
Mhm.
So what we do is we prosecute them on the internet. We just say, I mean, here's the charges, you know,
Mhm.
you can read them, and if you want
Cena
to have you want to have
Cena
a
Cena Bavari come on down to the
you wanna have
witness
a fair
stand.
trial, we'll let you talk, and we'll get you can have all the lawyers you want, and, just say, "Come on, bring it." But, first of all, we do the work to put together, the prosecution, and I think that's a next step. Like we've got the pieces of a quilt, but the quilt is not been sewn together yet. Does that make sense?
You're talking about dogs, and when I hear you trying to bring forth your legal background into taking down the deep state, my the tail on me starts to wag a little bit, because I'm on the scent of the deep state myself, and I do get excited. And when I hear you talking about putting together, I guess this team of citizen journalists, and using your legal background and actually presenting a legal case
Yeah,
in a way that legally binds them
right.
to the actions
Yeah.
that they're
Look at it this
performing to
way.
take down the to control society. That is an exciting venture to take on, and I would love to take part in that process, John.
Look at it this way. I mean, take a Bill Taylor, for example. I mean, none of us is going to do the same work that Bill Taylor has done, and
Mhm,
he is just torn into what he has done. But it would take us hundreds of hours to replicate what he has done. The
mhm.
question is not, has he done some great work? The question is, where does is the part of the puzzle that he fills in?
Yeah,
And let's draw a nice picture of the puzzle, and then we'll say, this is what we got, this is what we don't have. Go out and patch it together and say, okay, now we got a case.
yeah.
And that, to me, is something that they couldn't deny, because as long as the internet's up, uh, the challenge can be issued.
Mhm. Well, it's a we've been asked the question a lot. Like, you guys do a lot of great research on your channels, and what do we do with this information other than trying to let our family members and friends know, and so they don't get the jab, or they do get the jab, whatever it is at the time, whoever they're voting for, do what have you with the information. But how do we actually take the control out of the elite's hands and put it back into our own? And that's what America was founded on. That was founded on our individual rights and freedoms. And we and America also, we talk about on this show, putting together a team. You have your carpenters, you have your steel workers, you have your guys that are good at talking and organizing. You have your bakers, you have the people, the military, and that's what we're trying to do as citizen journalists. You got Bill Taylor, who's doing all this great research into Plum Island, and some of the bioweapons in New Jersey, and you got Housatonic breaking down anthrax and the 1918 influenza and the pandemic, and we got yourself getting into the paperclip Nazis, and your father, and a little bit more historical perspective, and then we're trying to, and if we can put together this legal case and actually present it to the public in a way where it's like, these guys are stamped guilty without a doubt. I believe that would be a great start to actually identifying the players at hand, and removing them from the positions of power that they hold.
Yeah, the work that's been done, and let's emphasize also, in terms of looking to try to find out, who's behind the corporate veil of all the corporations. We've got we've got David Underdown, man.
We don't need anything else.
If you look at his Twitter for maybe 15 minutes, you just look at his Twitter, and you're going to lay down your hands and you say, "Man, whatever you say, I give up."
Try and fight Dave Underdown in
You're never
one of
going to
those
fight David
cases.
Underdown on tracing the you know trace. That's the name of the game, right? Follow
Mhm,
the money, you know, and
mhm,
and so, but seriously. in order to accomplish this, we have to have a kind of a concept of what type of evidence would be admissible in a trial, in a courtroom, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And generally, there's two kinds of evidence that are admissible, and one of them is actual fact witnesses, and that is that I saw, so and so, I saw Roger Rabbit shoot, the whoever, and that's a fact witness, and you know, that's rare in what we're doing
Yeah.
because we are not out there watching, the deep state move money from here to there because we can't see it.
We see
And
what happens to whistleblowers also. It's not a good ending for them.
that's right. So being a fact witness is not necessarily a good job right now, as you just said so well. But there's another kind of witness that I don't think that we've thought of how to of exploiting yet, and that is called the expert witness.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about being an expert witness is you get to do what? You get to state your opinion. Now you're not limited to the facts. Now you're going to apply your experience, your expertise, your education, and your own reason in the field that you say that you're an expert in.
Mm-hmm. So you could be like, we saw, so Mrs. Smith, we saw a scene above. You saw in the lab, you saw him with the vials. You saw him transporting them into the trunk of his car. And you saw him talking on the phone to some foreign diplomat right before he left the office. What do you think is going on? What do you think Sina Bavaria is doing? And she can kind of answer those types of questions, correct?
Well, the other thing though is that if you have if you need to show that the money ended up in BCCI, right?
Hmm.
Well, you can't use fact witnesses to do it. You've got to use somebody that's an expert in financial transactions and can trace it. And that's where I think somebody like David can probably qualify. But then we need to put together like, well, actually, you need to have like a resume. You
Hmm.
need to have a little bit of a elevator speech about what you do, and but we can work on that. The rules of expertise are not as tight as most people think. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to be, an MD. You don't have to really have any specific qualifications if you have the right experience.
Hmm.
And sometimes, if you have all those letters after your name, you've already gotten yourself so deeply into the game that your all your opinions are known. You're already and you're probably getting $1,000 an hour. So the likelihood that we could hire you anyway is not likely. So what
Hmm.
we need are people that are volunteers but also have expertise, and it might be in cellular biology by the time we get through. We need to make a laundry list of what expertise we're seeking and then try to put together the team.
Hmm. Yeah, we don't need people like me doing caveman science on the on the expert witness stand, to say the least.
Well, what you can do is you can prepare the witness.
Hmm.
You can teach the witness what you know, and then you can make sure that they understand how we want to present the case. So
Yeah.
you're kind of like somebody that can produce things, right?
Yeah. So essentially, have you ever seen the movie My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Who do you want to be?
the I forget the wonderful lady's name who went on the witness stand and spoke about the tire treads and all that because her dad was a mechanic and she hung around the mechanic shop. She was an expert witness, correct?
Yes, that's right. That's exactly what we're talking about. And what's what's the tap on a 58 Chevy with so carburetor. But look at this lady. She's got Justin Trudeau on the witness stand, and he's wearing the purple tie.
That's AOC putting. That's AOC.
But yeah, she says, and I swear eternal allegiance to you, Justin. Now, what do we want to ask Justin Trudeau while we've got him on the witness stand here?
Oh, they're. When are you going to lift the vaccine sanctions in Canada and let the public be free? Who are the scientists that were reported breaking into the labs in Canada and taking some information from those labs? And there's plenty. What happened to the oil pipeline? Did you have any doing in Biden canceling the oil pipeline?
And
I
what
got a
the hell's
couple.
going on in Alberta? I want to know all about Alberta, please. Man.
Well, I guess if you want to switch gears here, John, I've been following you on Twitter and I guess watching your shows and getting to some of the research that you've been getting or following the research that you've been getting into, and you've been speaking about chimeric viruses, which is the ability to make a virus that's transmissible between animals, transmissible to humans. And
No, I think that's not exactly it. I think it's an organism that is not natural. It's made out of, and I think it refers to like if you took a mouse and a bat and mixed their genes together, that kind of thing. Is it doesn't occur in nature, so
Mhm.
it had to have been put together in a lab. Um, so, but anyway, let's look it up. Let's actually get on the yeah. Somebody look
Well,
up.
this
Is
article,
Aaron running the board for us?
this is we're both partially running the boards here, and I have Dave Fitz out there. He always gets on me about my pronunciation of chimeras. It's chimera. If you want to sound pronounce professional, it's chimera virus. I know, I
Let's nail
know.
it down because I think I'm right, but I'm not a scientist, and I think it's a very important term. So let's get a good solid definition.
Dave is a nuclear scientist, so I just kind of follow him. But if you're
Is he in
also
the
and
chat?
I don't think he is. He's just corrected me many times in my own videos. But
All right, I'm going to go off on share my screen and look for just a standard definition. Okay.
all right, but they actually started doing research on these chimera viruses, and just to let everyone know, the reason that Fauci and the gang they put the pause on the gain of function research over here in the United States, and they just pretty much just moved everything to China. And I believe that was an easier way for them to control some of the patenting systems. But I'm looking into more of that allegation myself. But yeah, they definitely moved all this research to China specifically because a lot of the monkey research that we do here in America and in Europe got banned, and China is just like an open playground when it comes to monkey research. So they developed. Oh, you got the chimera on the screen here. I'll let you get into the actual definition before I continue here.
A chimera is essentially a single organism that's made up of cells from two or more individuals. That is, it contains two sets of DNA with the code to make two separate organisms. One way that chimeras can happen naturally in humans is that a fetus can absorb its twin. Okay, two individuals, a single organism made up of two individuals. So it doesn't have to be different species.
It's a virus with DNA makeup of two different two different species. I guess you can do uh, bats and pigs, or fish and
Let's
and
yeah,
chips.
let's try this one. A genetic chimerism or chimera is a single organism composed of cells with more than one distinct genotype. In animals, this means an individual from two or more zygotes, which include possessing blood cells of different blood types, subtle variations in form, and if the zygotes were of differing sexes, then even the possession of both female and male sex organs. Oh, that sounds like Baphomet to me.
Hmm.
I wonder if that's what they're putting in the water or something. Animal chimeras are produced by the merger of multiple fertilized eggs. In plant chimeras, however, well, we're not talking about plants, are we?
Hmm. Well,
Okay.
these chimera viruses are important because they were developing them to create vaccines specifically, and that's they were trying to add different components to these vaccines to make universal vaccines, and that's partly why we're here today, is because of this vaccine research. I kind of like to look at everything with I guess rose colored glasses. Everything's rainbows and unicorns in the world, and I'd like to think it was an actual lab leak, just so they were working on these viruses in the lab trying to save humanity. And there's just as we have found out at these biosafety labs, the level 3s and level 4s, no matter what level they don't contain the viruses within them very well, and the viruses escape very easily. And unfortunately, they were working on these chimeric viruses and adding different components and ACE2 receptors using the furin cleavage sites, and they're making synthetic nanoparticle proteins, and and it's, and I don't know the exact reason why, but this article I have here, I guess, kind of can take you down that path a little bit. They're trying to, I guess, use animals to for harvesting human organs, and they're trying to develop this technology. And this is they I guess they use the CRISPR technology to do this also, but they use this, and all of this would not be possible without synthetic nanotechnology. That's from all the research I have found. Once they kind of kept hitting these walls, and once the synthetic component was brought in, and it was on a scale that they could uh they could build, I guess, cells within us at a micro level, and they decided to, I guess, use some of this technology for their advantage. The elites, they want the second and third world countries. They want us to be healthy. That's the reason for all this. They did a poll of the World Bank Group, and they asked them, if you could donate some extra money for the second and third world countries to get vaccinated, be healthy, for your own safety and your own immune system, would you do it? And I guess it was like 70% of the people polled said yes. And this was in 2016. And that's why I kind of think that Bill and Melinda Gates and all these elite groups are developing all these technologies. You got this, they're trying to use animals to harvest human organs. They're trying to vaccinate us, and it's not for our own safety and well-being. It's just for their own, and we're kind of the test dummies in the process along the way for them to live a healthy, prosperous life. Unfortunately.
Well, there goes my second strike. I don't care. No, this would be my first one on my backup channel. That's only a week, you know. Maybe I'll be on your show for a week if I get busted this time.
I will say the monkey human chimera virus show I did on my channel hasn't received a strike yet. That's part of the reason I brought it up today. I'm not bringing up any of the banned info, uh, at least. But
Well,
yeah, they used monkeys to kind of develop this technology, and they figured out that the monkeys were actually too small, and the organs weren't uh, pretty much they weren't getting big enough. So they're developing the technology to use beef and cattle and pigs to kind of, I guess, develop human organs for harvesting. And I don't know about you, John, but if I'm in the hospital and they ask me for a like, hey, you need a kidney transplant, but it was stored in a pig for a year, I really don't want that floating inside me.
oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
I already I'm already crazy enough.
You
I
don't
don't
want
need
it,
it.
but no, but haven't you seen what the really it's all gonna be 3D printing now, it's gonna be your personalized, uh, 3D printed organs, out of synthetic meat. That's what the synthetic meat's for is to so they can just, destroy your liver and stick another one in there.
It is a sad state of affairs when you go to the grocery store in the middle of the pandemic and all the beef is gone everywhere, but the only thing left was the Beyond Meat, the Bill Gates Beyond Beef, the synthetic beef, and no one was buying that, and I hope that is not our future because people we like eating the real stuff to say the least.
Well, drummer, she's doing great. We were out on for a bicycle ride today, and she sends her love, and we miss you. We wish you'd come down and visit us, but I know, gosh, you're so busy, and really trying to get your own show going while you're managing the book printing. How's the book printing going? Are you? The last time we talked, you were feeling a lot of pressure, Andy, because of the number of orders and just really really I think you were a little bit feeling like you were behind, and uh,
Mhm.
I'm hoping you're feeling a little better about it now.
Yeah, it actually, I'm all caught up now. I was when I go on these trips, it puts me the back orders start piling up because
Uh-huh.
I'm not here on a daily basis, printing orders. But I do want to give props to Mr. Aaron Adler here, Neighborhood News Studio. He's really stepped up his game here and
Right.
he finally took it upon himself. He realized Andy's stressed out. He's stressed out because of this books, and I want to kind of alleviate some of that pressure. So he's like teach me the way, Andy, and we've been plucking away here for the past week, and I think he has the process down, and we're all caught up in the books. And you mentioned earlier about I guess some of the production value that we provide here at the studio, and we are putting together a team here at Temperance, Michigan, where we got a couple people that we're training as part of this process to learn how to produce shows and handle some of the background work because Aaron and I we like doing the research in some of the shows ourselves, and it's tough keeping up with everything. So the team is growing here at Neighborhood News Studio, and I have no one to thank but everyone out there. You guys are all donating your time and energy and your money by buying the books and it's really just keeping us going and we appreciate it and we just want to let you know that we're moving the ball forward and we're trying to expand and grow and make sure our message is heard in all corners of the earth.
Well, that's great. I'm so so glad to hear you. Just you sound more relaxed and like uh, uh and this is gosh doing what you're doing. I remember when I was running my law firm and how insane it is sometimes. You can't anticipate everything and boy, when something needs to be done, it needs to be done right now. And
Hmm.
You got to drop everything else and go do that, and you're doing it. Anyway, Marcia said you can have her bike. She got a new bike.
She
So
got a new her she did have the I was kind of a little trepidatious of using her bike because it was like I was like, that's a girl's bike. I can't be caught riding around Mystery Island
not
trying
a
to pick up
girl's
chicks
bike.
on a girl's bike. And she's like, it's not a girl's bike, Andy. Go and ride on, hop on that thing. And I took it for a ride, and I was quite jealous, and and I'm happy to hear next time I come out, we can go out as a trio and hit the trails together as a with all of us and not leave any man behind.
She wanted a girl bike, so she got one, and she said, "Well, if you talk to Andy, tell him he can have the bike." Okay,
I appreciate it, and I hope she is doing well.
she's
After the
doing great. She's back to work and spitting nails all the time.
it's,
She
I hope I hope she's keeping on you, Mr. O'Loughlin. I'm not sure. Is that garden still looking nice?
beautiful. It's beautiful. No, she doesn't push me on that. That's my project. For some reason, I just started enjoying it. I think we just have some magical soil here on Mystery Island. It's really dark black earth, and then it's about a foot down, Andy, under the soil, just since you asked, is
Hmm.
about an inch thick layer of old oyster shells from when the whole island was like covered with oyster shells,
Really?
or at least our end of the island. So that provides incredible energy for the plants. And so that I think, I'm just really happy because I mean it's really just been beautiful this whole summer, and we've still got a lot of blooms out there. A lot of very, very nice summer.
So is that so is and I'm not a geologist or anything. So would that mean that at one point in time, so where you were living obviously was underwater, and was that because the water froze and the ice or something that the water retreated, or how is more earth moved on top of the oysters, I guess? Do you know the answer to that question?
I don't, and I could speculate. I there's things called middens around, which is where the Indians, for hundreds, if not thousands of years, would go to the same place to eat their oysters, and they just throw
Like
them
it just
all into the same pile, and imagine eventually it would flatten out, but. I don't know. I don't really know. But it's just part of the fun of living down here. It's great.
it is a great area. You can tell the farmland is rich. The last time I went through, we hit up Gettysburg along the way. I went to Antietam the last time I was in town, and it's just rich with history. And I am a little bit jealous of that. But we here in Ohio, we have some of that around. We're in Toledo, Ohio here. We're part of the Erie Canal system. Everyone knows the Erie Canal, I guess, starts in New York, and we have the Maumee River here on our end of Lake Erie. And through the Maumee River, it can connect to the Mississippi and get to Pittsburgh through the Ohio rivers and get and because of that, Toledo has the Erie Canal system, and we were actually exclaimed the gateway to the West at one point in time. Maumee, Ohio was my hometown, so we actually have, I guess, some rich history ourselves up here in Toledo, Ohio, and I guess that's where some of the neighborhood news, the citizen journalist interests start out. You go to your local historical spots. You start reading the plaques and start trying to connect some of the dots that happened in your area, and it grows from there. And you start catching up into what's going on in your own time, and you can really start to see, I guess, what the powers that be, their maneuvers and their schemes, if you study history. And that's where I guess you come in a lot with with Neighborhood News and Osprey Nation, you go in great detail through these historical texts, and I'm sure you can bring up a lot of, I guess, similarities in how the powers that be were controlling society, uh, from the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s up until today. They follow the same plans over and over again.
I was
Unfor-
today. I was researching the Cabell family.
Mhm,
Earl Cabell, and I think Charles Cabell is the general. Earl Cabell was the mayor of Dallas when Kennedy was shot, and just looking into that whole question of who are the Cabell family, because I remembered that there was Cabells in West Virginia, and then I thought, I wonder if they are part of the Northern Neck, the Fairfax Grant that we've been reading about on my show.
mhm,
And I found that that the Cabells were not, that they were they settled in early 1720s in what was the frontier of Henrico County, or Henrico County, they say. And that's the county that Richmond is in. But at the time, it was like the frontier, so it had no boundary on the west. It was anything west of here is in Henrico County.
mhm,
Well, that's where the first Cabell landed, and he was from England, and he has his whole lineage and everything. And I could just trace the Cabells, but the way that they got to be wealthy was importing Africans and using them for slave labor, and that is the Southern family tradition that began in the 1700s, but with the result, ultimately tore the country apart with the Civil War and racism and Jim Crow and so much
mhm,
horror in our world. But they have their way of looking at life, and they did then, and they were the powerful families, and to some extent they still are. That gets me, kind of brings me to today, because if you look from the Cabells of 1728 to the Cabells of the 1960s, yeah, you run right into my father's career, and I've been really enjoying this book. I wanted to give a plug for. This is Ray Batvinis's book, Hoover's Secret War Against Axis Spies, uh, published in 2014. Um, Mr. Batvinis runs a website called FBI Stories, and I noticed this book and got a copy of it about 4 days ago, and I haven't been able to put it down because it, you probably, if you've read my book about my dad, or if you've heard me tell the story, my dad was on MacArthur's flagship during World War II,
mhm,
at a time when MacArthur and General William Bill Donovan, Wild Bill Donovan, this OSS chief, uh, were uh, were rivals, and there we go, and the big dispute between MacArthur and the OSS over who was going to run intelligence and secret operations in MacArthur's area, and that was a non-starter for MacArthur. Well, the same problem runs is what Hoover runs into later, and there's Andy showing a picture of my dad on the bridge of the Nashville with General MacArthur. If you can see the general in the middle there with a little splash of light on his ear, that is MacArthur, and the man on the left is my dad with the big binoculars there, watching the landing at Leyte Gulf on October 20th of 1944. Um, well, thanks, Andy. And anyway, this book confirms so much of what I had surmised on my own, which was that Hoover was not only at war, against the Nazis and uh, and the the Axis, but also communists,
Mhm.
also at war against the other agencies, including the British. He and Stevenson, the head of the British intelligence operation in the United States, had started out fine, but then Stevenson is running operations under Hoover's nose, and he won't let him. He's just not, and so there was friction all during the war between Hoover and the British intelligence, but the British intelligence was nursing the OSS. So the OSS was the sweetheart of the British intelligence. Hoover was running his own tight ship the whole
Mhm.
time, and nobody has told that story. But that is the FBI that my dad ends up joining in 1949, is the subsequent form of that same FBI that really was an intelligence agency, and in many ways a better intelligence agency than the OSS or the CIA. And this is a very interesting book, and I'm about a third of the way through it. Uh, FBI Counter Espionage During World War II by Raymond Bat-Vinnis. So that's what I'm reading right now.
So there, so you just have secret intelligence agencies on top of secret intelligence agencies.
Exactly.
It's how can you follow the tracks?
Well, that's the
Everything has a
problem, like
every
right now, everybody's like, well, it's CIA, FBI,
Mhm.
DIA, the 17 agencies, the Five Eyes, they're all the same, right? Well,
Mhm.
no, they're not. This is where my dad's story can be illuminating. Is that
Mhm.
you find a man that comes from Hoover's FBI uh, to into the Pentagon at a time when the CIA folks are taking over the Pentagon, and no, so he's in an impossible position. But that is a great story to
Mhm.
show that this was a real war between. Well, at least I can say Hoover's on one side, and Donovan and is on the other side. That much I can say. I could try to line up some more of the parties, but I really haven't got my dance card filled yet. But this book that I wrote, it's like I just had to do it. I I could not let my father's life not be told, and so there it is. It's about a 2 hour read, and if you haven't got a copy yet, pick one up.
Mhm. Well, it really leads into, I guess, what's going on nowadays with this whole secret intelligence operations. We got clip Nazi operations. The biosafety labs are just subsidiary companies of IG Farben and Haucht AG, and this whole genetic game that we're playing is kind of just like a Nazi dream. And I guess John F. Kennedy had some foresight, and he warned us about these secret intelligence operations and how they can manipulate society as a whole. And we see a lot of these, I guess, the school plays, the psyop operations. You got the coronavirus, you got the Capitol at January 6th, you got the stuff going on at the border. Who knows what they're teaching our kids in the school? And it's really hard to cipher through everything and figure out what's going on. And this is what John F. Kennedy was warning about, because everything has a what do they call it, a confidential stamp, what's that called, top secrets stamp on it. So unless you have the credentials, you can't unpeel that onion layer. And it's really just, I guess, a way for all these deep state players to cover their tracks. And that's why when you see like Anthony Fauci up there lying and all these people lying. It's like, hey, are you CIA working at the CDC? You know, are you like I'm just under the impression now that the CIA has infiltrated every government organization, and that's what we're just getting a bunch of CIA mouthpieces just spewing lies at us constantly.
It's Spectre, it's the 007 movie Spectre, where in that one it was the Nine Eyes, and they were taking over all the governments of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and basically they just needed one little country to complete their takeover, and then they got it, and that was the the movie. Um, that was predictive programming. They were telling us, hey, this is what we're doing. We are Five Eyes, we
Mm-hmm.
are 11 eyes, we are however many eyes you want to count us, but we are doing it. And you've heard the phrase, uh, um, blown cover as cover.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes from my Tupper Saucy book, but the concept never made sense to me until I realized, that's what they do on television.
Mm-hmm.
The Simpsons show is blown cover as cover. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, hey, we're going to give you a Mr. Burns and make him just this awful maniacal bad guy that looks a lot like one of the Rothschilds, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and and make him, this evil guy that plays all these horrible schemes on us, and then they put a dome, over the city, Springfield, it's well, of course we're going to do that. How are you going to breathe after we destroy the atmosphere?
Mhm. It's like, what do you mean they release bioweapons all over the world? That's stuff of the movies.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
quit watching so many movies, guys.
And if it does happen, we can build you a biosphere. So don't worry.
Uh, there, we-
No,
there we have it.
it's blown cover as
There's
cover. They're saying you guys are never going to believe that we're doing this, but we're doing it. Yeah.
well, it's only I guess it's only a matter of time before we I guess have these vaccine policies. I guess they had to back off a little bit lately. Biden tried to push him through, and they were, I guess, the unions and some of the people were pushing back a little bit. But if they do keep pushing on with this, it's only a matter of time before the NATO blue helmets show up and start knocking on the doors. It's I don't know why our like the police forces in Australia. I had a gentleman, a fellow citizen journalist on from Australia, and yeah, it's like, yeah, these police officers are just normal everyday citizens, and they're willing to go like knock on people's doors and see if they got the jab and throw them in re-education camps if they didn't get the jab, and they're not allowed to rejoin society until and I don't know if like American officers would ever do that. So that's why I'm saying I think they'd have to bring in the NATO blue helmets to implement the biosphere, the biosphere as a whole, if we're talking about it in that aspect. But you could also look at it with Elon Musk and our weather manipulation tactics that we're implementing. And I guess you can just look at the Earth as a whole as a biosphere, and the elites definitely have a control over that, and that's why only certain people are allowed to go to space, right? And unless you're,
I heard it's going to be the opposite way around, and that is only certain people are going to be able to go onto the Earth, and
oh,
when the rest of us are going to be up in those uh, artificial planets that they can build, or
mhm.
on Mars. Although I'm still not convinced that that Mars isn't really some place in remote Mongolia, you know, where you know,
Really,
they'll
I
send
have
the Land Rover over there and, you know, run them
mm,
over, you know, or somewhere north in northern Iceland or something
we
like
got
that.
Steven Spielberg and the crew out there.
Yeah, with their little helicopter, you know. I I'm sorry, call me a skeptic, but, you know, I have seen a little bit of Steven Spielberg, yeah.
There are, yeah, there are a bunch of Stan. Have you ever watched The Shining and Stanley Kubrick? And he I guess portrays some of those theories in that movie. But it is a I guess a daunting task to take on the elites when you're just in your studio here in Temperance, Michigan, or you're in your studio there in Mystery Island, but someone has to do it, John. Someone has to uncover the truth, and someone has to arm our patriots with information. If we're gonna take I can't this picture with Jeff Bezos and the glasses. That's a great picture. But yeah, we're trying to this is an information war at the moment, and we're trying to arm our patriots with information and let them know the tactics the elites are using on us. And if we all just sat there in the dark, just kind of following the plan, and who knows what we would be like if it wasn't for people like us, and who are labeled conspiracy theorists and portrayed badly among some. I'm speaking from personal experience. We have just weird bad labels that are portrayed by other family members and stuff. But I'm willing to go through those labels. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. The deep state is going to have to come at us with more than just some verbiage to try and stop us, and that's not a threat, by the way. I do not want to do that, but we are a team here at Neighborhood News Studio, and Screaming Ospreys Nation, and I look forward to the continued progress of uncovering the truth and this journalistic journey that you, I guess, wholeheartedly invited me on, and you showed me some ropes, and I guess the rest of the team here in the chat. Thank you for the support, because it's been a blessing, and I could have never imagined, I guess, being in front of the camera, smiling and trying to tell the truth when I was laying on the towpath a year and a half ago, looking up at the sky with the trees blowing in the wind, wondering if I'll just take another breath again. So the fact that
Mhm.
I'm here today, just breathing in general, I don't take that for granted, and I will continue to fight to my actual last breath, for the American dream and for this country's future.
Your website is, what?
Neighborhoodnewsstudio.com.
.com. All right. Everybody keep in touch with Andy and support all of his good work. Thanks for being with us tonight, Andy Dybala. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow night, and have a great evening. Good night. Oh,
Thanks
wait a
for
minute. We forgot. We forgot. Where's Aaron?
Aaron is somewhere out there. I think he's a little camera shy right now.
All right. Well, let's just give Aaron a nice round of applause here. Thank you, Aaron.
And the crowd goes crazy.
Good night, everybody.